And Chakra Yendapally is also on, and he's from JungleBooks. And we run a meetup. So, you know, if you're coming in and you don't know how this sort of started, we run a meetup every month pre-COVID. And then we started doing these chats once a month. And then we started like upping the game and doing some interviews because we have access to all these amazing people like Karen, who I'm a little nervous, Karen. I was thinking about when I was looking at my questions, I'm like interviewing like a superstar. She knows everything. And what's all right, I'm gonna say,
Oh yeah.
so she is, but she really is. I just learned that you and I have this is Karen Holmes, the great Karen Holmes. And I just learned from our notes that you and I have been both been selling on Amazon for 11 years.
Yep.
That officially makes us ancient in Amazon years, right? Like in dog years, it's 7 years to every human year, but like, yeah. But Karen has a wealth of experience. She's shepherded a number of people through the whole trademark process. She is amazingly detailed. Whenever I have a question about Amazon, I'll be like, remember that thing where we did that thing? She's like, oh yeah, here's the help article. Here's the things you have to watch out for. And she knows every detail. And she's like just a constant resource for me because she just knows it all. And she just is just damn smart. So tonight she's agreed very graciously to help us with trademarks, because I know, you know, from the group and from a lot of people that we talk to, I get a lot of requests, you know, I said, you need to get a trademark. You need to get that process started because it takes so darn long to get one, and you want to do it right. And they're like, oh, well, and I need to get a lawyer. I'm like, not necessarily. It's not like a patent where there is just so much detail and complication. Hi, Susan. And, but, you know, there is something to it that you need to be aware of. And there's certain things that you have to be prepared before you even start the process. But if you're going to make a product and you need to protect yourself, it gives you a number of advantages on Amazon. And so we're going to explore that tonight with Karen and ask the trademark resource for her guidance and counsel. So I have my little questions, as always. They get prepared. And I guess really, you know, I think we should start with brass tacks. What is a trademark?
Okay, trademark can be a name, your name. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah. If you can, maybe just adjust my sound a little bit. Sharpie,
what would you like me to do?
Okay, yeah, you're good. You're good. Go ahead.
Okay. A trademark is you putting your mark, it's a name, or it can be a symbol, it can be a design, it can even be a sound, you know, like a jingle that somebody has that you can trademark and like claim it as your own, as the originator of it. For the sake of Amazon, you're best to use a name, because on searches, it's easier for them to search in the brand registry via the text than it is a graphic, you know, so I always try to do it via the name. But it is supposed to be a unique name and not one that's going to be confused with anybody else, you know.
Right.
So, you know, if Barbara has Barbara's curtains, I shouldn't go Karen's curtains and confuse matters. So.
Yeah, it's better just to avoid it anyway, because it does take so long, right? That, you know, you don't want to get to the end and the trademark, the USPTO lawyer's like, oh yeah, this sounds just like that. Like you could do, give an example, like somebody, you could say, I made Nike slippers. You can make Nike slippers. That's going to be a problem. Even though Nike doesn't make slippers, you know, they're certainly not going to let you sit still with that, right? So,
no.
Now, do you need to get like, I know you don't need to get a trademark as a business, but why would you want to?
Well, I would work up front to see time down the road. I like to set up properly and get everything in position, and it saves you people who've courses,
out, Karen.
and people have taken. Pardon?
You bring.
Yeah.
So why, as a business owner, would you want to have a trademark?
To protect yourself. If you're thinking of building a brand and you build it up and you've got customers, looking for you and you're advertising, you do not want somebody else to come in and take your name and take those customers from you. If you don't get trademarked, there are people who bad actors, they would call them, who may see you being successful and think that's a great idea. I'm going to grab that name myself. And if you've not done it, they could go to trademark office and trademark it and take it away from you and then come after you and say, you cannot use that name. I've registered trademark. So it protects you that way. I've had people who've done courses people have stolen the work and yet they've gone ahead and copyrighted it and then stopped the person who originated it from using it. So it's all to save time in the future. It sets yourself up properly so that you've got all the legal protection you need should you need it. You hope not to use it. It's expensive to hire a trademark attorney, but you want to be protected.
I know a story in the Amazon space, where someone made a product. Actually, someone saw a well-selling product. This is how I think it went down. And they went and had it made. They noticed that there was no trademark on the original company. They never trademarked their name. They went and made the product. They basically got it trademarked, got the other parties shut down on Amazon. This is a big old time retail company, and then sued them for infringing on their trademark. They basically stole the company's entire business by doing that. I was just floored.
Yeah. So, next question.
What do you think what do I need to do? I know I've sent you a couple people and they weren't quite ready. So you've taught me well how to prep people before I even send you to them for help. What do you need to have in hand before you start the process?
Okay. The first thing is to have a product. And that might sound like a silly thing to say, but a lot of times, Barbara will say, oh, you need to get brand registry. And somebody comes to me and they don't even have the product yet. And then sometimes they'll say, well, what product should I get? I'm like, I don't know.
Worse yet, I've sent people to you and they don't even have a name. They're like, what should I call it?
Yeah. Oh, they'll have a name and it's too generic a name. It's too much like somebody else's. And so you want to do some searches. You can do rough searches on Google, see if any of the names show up. Do search on the USPTO website, see if any names similar to it. If you put like an asterisk both sides of it, like say you want Barbara's toy shop or something, if you do the toy in an asterisk either side of it, it'll give you a wide range of names with that word in the name, so that you can see if you don't want to be like somebody else's. You want to be distinguishable, and that goes for when you do build your customers and that. You want people to easily find you. You don't want to name that so generic a word that when they go online looking for you, thousands of listings show up because the names in all these listings, so right. You want something that's going to be, you say, go to Nike, it's like, and Nike comes up, not that you're going to use the name Nike, but just as an example, you want something that's easily identifiable to you.
Yeah, I do find a lot of people struggle with coming up with that name. But when you look, they're like, I know when I came up with the first trademark that I did, that she helped me with, everybody's giving me the weird, like, what does that mean? I'm like, well, do you think like Nike means anything in terms of the brand? Do you think that Reebok and Asics and all these brand names, the reason they are so singular is for that very reason, to stand out, to be a name that once they've built the reputation, once they've gotten all the sales and everything, like it's something that, stands out in and of itself. people are always trying to like, oh, but it has to mean something. I'm like, it's not, it's nice if it has some meaning. You know, the first trademark I did actually has a meaning in another language, but it's, you know, it's a reach. Nobody sees that name and goes, oh, that means, you know, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, I think that was a really important thing to say. It's like, it has to be distinguished. Now for Amazon, it goes a little further, right? What do you want in terms of how that relates to brand registry?
Well, for brand registry, you want, when you sign it, go for your application, you want it to be goods, not service. Recently I had somebody, I do have a trademark for gift baskets myself, but that is not something you can use for brand registry, because in the gift baskets I've got other brands, so I can't say, oh, is my gift basket, you know, I've got all these different Crayola or whatever in the basket, you know. That is a service, and you can't trademark a brand registry service. So you want to make sure it's goods. So say you have a website and it's we'll say t-shirts, it makes t-shirts and that. You don't actually trademark the service of creating t-shirts. You would really best to trademark one of the t-shirts, you know, an actual product, an actual shirt, a physical product, rather than the service of printing t-shirts. So it's just, it's you can do both, you know, but for the brand registry, Amazon wants a product with your name on it, with a picture, even with packaging. Sometimes there has to be a label, because like earrings or something, just trademark that, and you can't put the name on the actual earring, but you know,
so it doesn't have to be like Hershey's bar, like literally the Hershey's bar has the name Hershey's in it. It doesn't have to be, does it have to be that pronounced when you put your name on it? Or, you know, I don't know, can you just take your product and put a sticker on it?
Well, you would have a label on the Hershey bar,
right?
You know, so
but is Amazon going to say, okay, yeah, I see your coffee pot and you've got a plastic sticker on it, so that
they really want to see that your name is on the product.
Like
now,
engraved, or really like
people can get creative with Photoshop, but if you get creative showing a product, and I've seen people do it many times, they try to jump put the cart before the horse, and it's like they Photoshop it, and then they send the products in, and then the customer's like, well, this doesn't look like it's the real thing because this doesn't have a name on it, you know. And so then you can really get in trouble, because Amazon will say, well, this is counterfeit, you know, it's not got the brand name on like the shows in the picture. So you have to be careful. And when they do check the photographs, they sometimes will go, we'll go over to the trademark site to look at your application now. And it used to be really easy. Your application went in, you could, you know, have full coverage from the copyright department and everything. But because it's increased the brand registry, they're taking more precautions that people, you know, actually do have it and haven't just applied for it and don't continue, you know, the process. So they will check and to see that you have a similar image to what's on the trademark site. Now, I just redid one for 5 years. It was actually the gift basket one, and I did a new one, a new image when I did the resubmitting, but they wanted the old one, so I had to revive the old listing for a little while. I put it like at $200, you know, and revive it so that I could just do the renewal, you know, of the trademark place wanted the same image sort of thing for some reason, you know. You would think you could use it for, you know, the gift baskets, but no, they like wanted the same thing. So
Oh, geez.
keep your images, your original images handy in case you need it for the future, and you can just throw it up on a website, even if you're not using it anymore, just show them. And that is a thing that they will want to see. There's two things you have to have when you sign up is when it was first in use, the actual day, so
Mhm.
and when it was first in e-commerce.
Okay.
Or first in commerce,
Commerce.
it doesn't have to be in e-commerce, it can be in commerce. So a lot of times people say it's first in use when they've signed up for a domain name and the website to that.
Mhm.
And others will say like doing a listing on Amazon was when it was first in commerce, you know. But those are two questions that are asked, because if anybody objects to it down the road, they will see what date did you first start using it. So you want to have a good date.
That makes me, when you say e-commerce, even though I know you meant commerce in general,
Yeah.
it makes me think of another question. So I had a heck of a time, and I have a heck of a time. People are asking me. I suggested them they should get the trademark, and the reason I suggest it so strongly is that it just takes 8 months. So it's like, yeah, you might be working on a product. It takes 8 good if you have no problems. It takes 8 months. So you want to get that rolling as quickly as possible. But I think also I recommend to them that they try to get the URL at the same time, because not everything is always going to be Amazon. Once you get a trademark and you have real products that you own and can market, maybe you'll go into sell it into retail and selling it in wholesale. You'll sell it to wholesale to a big box store, or maybe you'll do a variety of different things with that trademark, and you'll need a website. So I know that is problematic. And I'm not even sure, when I was looking for it, it was a lot easier to find like a 2-word URL and a trademark at the same time. Do you have any, like other than that kind of hint, do you have any hint? Yeah, that's great. Casey said you should always adds value to your exit strategy, which should be top of mind. May not be ready right now, but in the future, it's a valuable asset. Do you have any thoughts on like URL / getting the trademark? Would you suggest to someone that they're doing that at the same time, or is it that? Do you feel like it's that important? Like, let's say I get, Red Bullet is my trademark and it passes the USPTO search, which I want to ask you about as well. And but I can't get redbullet.com. Is it that big a deal to be redbulletco.com, or should I try to do those things in tandem?
I always say get all your ducks in a row first, and choose the name. Have a look around and see, but if you find a name that you like in these different services where you can play around, you can put in different letters that you want and have it play around come up with different names. There are some good ideas, that you can just use, tools you can use. But once you found a name that you like, think about getting the domain. But when you're going to look for the domain, be prepared to buy it. It may just be like $11 or something just to buy it, because the chances are once you've gone to look, you go back again and it's leapt up in price. It's $100 now. And it's just like with airlines. It's like that you get that cookie on your thing and you go back to look and all of a sudden the price has increased. So when you're going to look at it, you can look incognito too, but you get the Google Cognito. But I always say, if you're close to getting a name, then just grab it. It'll be worth it than increasing.
So it might be worse to start your search in US. Oh, so I noticed in the notes that I took that you have to be careful where you search for the trademarks, right? Like you can't just go on, if you go on Google, there's like a specific place to go to check on the trademarks, not just, there's just like a lot of.
Oh, you're talking about these different companies. When you search for the trademark office, there's hundreds of trademark companies, and some of them look a little more official than others, you know, so you want to be sure to be at the government site, you know, and not some other service site, you know, and you find out, now it's going to cost me $2,000, you know. But make sure you're on the site. There are different companies. There's a company that I like, and Barbara knows, Trademarks411.com. They have a really good simple search that you can do without even signing in. You can just put in a name of that and go and search and see, and go over to the government website to see if it's in action or not. You will see when you're over on the trademark site, you will see live and dead trademarks. And that's from people that may have had the trademark and they're no longer in business of that. Sometimes, though, they're still in business. They just did not realize that they have to renew it in between the 5th and 6th year, the trademark. Otherwise, they lose it. So, and the government did not remind you about that. So that's why I like to use a service, because you know, even though it can help people, it's like, I want to be responsible for someone losing the trademark for 6 years down the road. You know, Trademark 411 will remind them that it's, hey, you're due to renew. And
I didn't think they were very expensive, were they? They
no,
seem to be
$149, and often you can find a coupon online for $20 off. So $129. And then you're giving them your credit card instead of the government, the credit card. You know, they take the credit card for the fees. The government fees, they do the $275 application. I think it's just a little quicker and it's more precise.
okay.
And there is a $225 one, but we've always, you know, been able to pretty well sail through, you know, with the $275 government application. Now you do, the reason that you want it, I always say to people, have it, you trademark on a product, have 2 pictures ready to send. So then you've got everything. If you've got the date first in use, the dates first in commerce, and then 2 photographs, you pretty much have what you need for the application. You just need to decide, if you're in partnership, what name you're going to put it on, because people start through the process and then it's like, well, I don't know if I want it in Barbara's name or Karen's name or the business name. Or so those are things to think about before you do it. You can change the name that the application's in, but it costs money later down the road.
What is the process? Like, how would it, like,
Okay.
let's say I said, Karen, help me do this, which I know I just basically, because you do it, I hate doing this paperwork stuff. What does that look like?
Yeah, I'll say to Barbara, she'll say I need to do a trademark and that, and then she puts it off, and then I'll say, come on, Barbara, let's do it now.
Yeah.
Photographs.
My arm behind my back, I'm like, fine.
Yeah, I know. Well, you did. You got your easy key. You got all the other things.
Got a couple.
Yeah.
And you get this great little like certificate at the end. It's almost like you won a little.
Yeah, with the gold on it. Yeah.
For participating.
That's nice. And I always scan it when it comes in so that you don't get it anything on it, because you will. It's really handy to submit it for Amazon, that show them you got the trademark. And then if you do the eBay Vero service, you can show you've got the trademark, you know.
Right.
And with the Vero service, I use them. Well, that's for copywriting. I copyright my photographs and that, because I tend to pay a lot of money to get photographs professionally done. And so I copyright my photos, and then people, I mean, you can't stop them from reselling your goods, you know, because if they bought them and they're reselling your goods, you can't stop them from doing that. But you can stop them from using your photographs. And the majority of the time, people who sell on eBay are just buying from Amazon and selling there, but they could start selling an inferior product in your name. So if you want to protect it, you know, it's good to copyright your photographs, and then you can say you can, and for that I needed to show them my trademark and my copyright things, for the process. The procedure is you need to have the 2 dates ready, like I said. I like to do 2 photographs. You don't have to have them immediately, but it is always good to just have it there, because you would have like 3 to 6 months to submit them, but before you know it, that time flies. And I've had people who've submitted before they've even looked at the product, and then they've lost out on the timing and everything. So you want to have those 3 things done. I go to Trademarks 411, fill out the application, but I do like to know, I do the homework myself first, because they're not Amazon based as such. So we know what we want for Amazon, and so I always like to look to see, what category you want to be in, so you can look at other companies and see where their trademarks are and what categories they're using. If you were, say, doing party supplies or something, it's good to include quite a few things, like the paper plates, the straws, the knives and forks, all the different things that you think that you will be selling. You only have to send 2 things, and you have to be careful, because theoretically you're supposed to be in use, when you're doing it. But like products, I think is good to do all at once, because someone who jumped the gun and did file themselves, they wanted to add just something simple, like they had a cardigan and they wanted a shirt and they wanted a jumper, and they had to pay to add that category to their trademark, even though it's still in the same category, to have those words added. So you want to add what you can when you're submitting it, what you're going to be using. So
that's an interesting thing that you made me think of with that statement. Is I'm going to apply for, my trademark is for making for watches. I'm going to sell watches, so I'm going to make a trademark for that. I can't actually then go and use it on other types of jewelry, right? Because I've said watches.
Theoretically, no, but people do. And it depends on if somebody checks on it and says, well, you don't have it. The trademark.
You can't say let's say I want to use that same trademark. Now I want to make toasters.
You would theoretically have to reapply and add it, in your name. You could add it for toasters.
Because it's interesting, because Amazon doesn't differentiate at all.
No, but if they check it, when you apply, you go with the one that you've listed.
Right.
But no, you can very much add other things. But it's just, if there's a competitor who wants to go after you, they can say, well, they don't own the trademark for this category. That's and as people are getting more knowledgeable about it, they're using that against other people. So you just have to be ahead of the game. And but definitely spread out on what you're having. Like I had somebody who was doing teas, and then he wanted to do teapots, and he wanted to do a whole load of different things that come with a tea ceremony. And so think about that. Each one costs money. I mean, it's not that you can have one trademark and have a lot of different categories. Every category will be the two.
Should be. You won't be protected if something were to happen and you had trademarked tea and then made toasters.
No. If somebody else wanted it for toasters, that
somebody literally could come in and register for your trademark for toasters and take your business.
Pretty much Amazon, they typically don't let somebody coming on with the same name, in the brand registry. So it depends on what you're using it for, but very often you have to think of the big picture, not just on Amazon, other places too. I have one of my trademarks I have in the UK too, because the seller in the UK came over to Amazon here and they took over my flipping store, which was brand registered. But there's the person at Amazon had helped them and said, oh, well, you've got a store set up. And they took my store. So I thought, okay, this is it. I'm going to get registered here and I'm going to get registered in England, the UK too.
Because they weren't trademarked in either place, if I recall.
Pardon?
They weren't trademarked in either place.
No, they weren't. No. And so I got, the trademark.
Completely different business, but it just was unfortunate.
So you go to Trademark Form 1, fill out the application. I let them know what categories, what you're going to be selling and that, and because they'll be filling out the form. And they fill it out properly. It's amazing when you fill these government forms out, you get to it and you're like, do I want 1A or do I want 1B? And you could waste so much time just
figuring it out.
The simple things you think, well, which is it that I need to do? Well, the difference between 1A and 1B when you're filling the form out is 1A is in use, 1B is its intent to use. And so with the 1B, it's about $110 and that, but within 3 to 6 months, you have to then have it in use and you can do one extension of it. So that's why you're best to just automatically go with it in use. Otherwise, you're going to have to do.
And it doesn't really save you any time. You still start at the 8, you still got 8 months from that point, no?
Yeah.
So it's not really doing much for you.
It's just that we want to get the name in there soon. But it's going to cost you a little more, and so, but then once they do their searching at the company, the trademarks, then it goes over to the government's department, and then they fill in the application. They have somebody entering applications as they come in. And that can take up to a week till, they fill that application in at the government office. Then it takes them about 3 months to have an attorney look at your case. And I think that they must use a whole load of local attorneys or whatever.
And that's the government's attorney.
Between them all, yeah. They'll use outside attorneys to go in and that are trained to check out and make sure that it's not going to, the biggest thing is not causing confusion with somebody else's name. And they'll also say if you have generic words in your title that you're not claiming ownership of the word shoes or the word toy. And you just have to declare that, no, I'm not claiming ownership of, I'm only want it in this context, with,
right.
With
and the whole sentence.
John's
toys, not just toys. Yeah.
So they'll often just come back and ask you something with it, and you have to respond to them. You have up to 6 months to respond to them. And that's another thing when Trademark 411 will respond, will tell you, hey, they're waiting for an answer, and you'll get other people jumping in, other trademark companies. So just ignore them. You'll get bills for like $424 or $2,032. They look all official. They will not
so official. It looks like you owe another government fee.
And they're not. It's just spamming. It's just phishing, whatever you want to call it. Once the attorney's happy, so that takes about 3 months. They then have to go through the procedure of putting it in a publication, and it's called the Official Gazette or something. And so they put it in the publication, and be like when you get married, it's like, does anybody object to, what this man or woman should now get married? And so they give people 30 days to say if they object. And then they have up to 10 weeks from that time, from it going into the Gazette to when if nobody objects, that for you getting your trademark, and it gets mailed to you. So when you add it all up, from the application being filed to the attorney being assigned to going into the Gazette and then to waiting for anybody for opposition. That's why it takes, 7 months about.
You mentioned that the government lawyer. Does someone actually need a lawyer? Are you required to required to have a lawyer? Do you need a lawyer? Do you think it's like, to me, I really felt, well, I had you, so I felt like I'd rather give you the money than give somebody else, a lawyer, the money. But the lawyers might charge.
Well, if you're international, you have to have a lawyer. You have to, if you want a US trademark and you're an international person, you have to have somebody representing you here. It has to be a registered trademark attorney, a lawyer. But you don't have to have one. There may be situations when it's good to have one if you've got questions that, I mean, this is by no means any legal advice. I should have done the disclaimer at the beginning.
Yeah.
This is just from what I have experienced, and it's just to give you ideas. But I mean, it definitely wouldn't put somebody off having an attorney. But how I look at it, a lot depends on where you're going to sell and what you're going to do. And if you feel that you're going to have a lot of fights along the way, you may need to have somebody representing you to send out paperwork. But typically what happens is, I talked to somebody once because we did have a situation where we'd hired somebody and to do a website, and they tried to take over our work, and that's how I learned really quick how to copyright and trademark things. And it was a panic situation. But I find that in that situation, it was just one person, and it was not going to be something that would, happen a lot of times. Now, if you're out somewhere and there's a lot of people who would go after it, if say music, something like that, that may be something where people have to send out letters a lot, to represent you. So then I would say yes. But if it's something like you're selling on Amazon and you really don't think that there's going to be, a situation where they're going to have to send out letters, then I feel that Amazon has its own lawyers, and I feel like I've got access to Amazon's lawyers. Once I've got trademark and brand registry, I will use Amazon's legal department, and I've used it many times in the past. I go straight to the copyright department and I'd say this person's infringing on my intellectual property, and so I feel I've got some, backup, with Amazon or even eBay, in the video program. But there are times when, I'm sure there's certain things where people, may be copied and that, more readily, and then they're going to have letters going out. And typically what a lawyer will do is they will have a retainer. And so they'll hold between $2,000 to $10,000, it can be. And then every time they will actively look around and see if somebody's using your work, and then send out letters. And then when they send out letters, you don't even know how many letters they're sending out. I don't like having to me, it's like giving them a blank checkbook, And so when they've sent out a letter, they will take that from your retainer, and then when 2,000 has gone, they'll say, okay, I need another 2,000, as a retainer for sending out the letters. I've never felt the need to send out the letters. Now, I've had to hire a lawyer for the eBay thing, because people don't read. And when eBay sent letters to them saying, you're using somebody's images, that you're not allowed to use, they write back and say that I was mistaken and it's their images. But that's how it comes back, how they tick off the box. But what they actually mean to say is, okay, I'll stop using them, and they close the listing down and they're not going to use it. But eBay sees it as though they're arguing to use it. And so then they give you a 10 days to take them to court unless you resolve it. So it's like, so then you're going to get the legal people involved. So, and that was like $650 to get the attorney to send a letter to them. It was twice, and both times it was the seller was really just saying, no, I'm not going to use the images. You know, it wasn't that they were fighting to use them. It was that they hadn't read it. So I wrote to eBay and I said, the way your form is, it's really confusing. Could you change it? And I actually had the manager call me to ask him for suggestions as to how to reword it. I don't know if they ever did reword it.
Yeah.
But yeah. Some people have asked if they can use a PO box instead of a home address. And as of September 2019, they want a physical address. But you can use like a UPS store address, you know, because that's a physical address, you know, so just so you know that.
Yeah, they don't want all, like, I guess if this things get more confusing.
Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, somebody asked in the chat, if once it expires in 5 years, what do you have? Can you start out by getting a longer term one?
No.
Or what do you have to do at that point to keep it in good stead?
You always have to do it between the 5th and 6th year. And it's quite a simple application, or you can pay it's a lesser rate to pay to have somebody do it. And it's just basically to say you're still using it. They don't want people just hoarding them and there forever. So that's why you see live and dead. So you do have to fill it out, or you will lose the rights and somebody else could take it over. And I've seen that many times happen. Some people, I think, wait until it's gone a bit like domains and that. And then after that, it's in every 9 or 10 years. You do it.
So Amazon has their acceleration program, or must not write the right word, where you can get brand registered.
You can pay $3,000
about it.
Yeah. Okay, that's basically, I don't know if you ever had a car accident and the insurance company will automatically say, yes, we'll cover the charges if you use these certain service centers because they've been deemed to be honest and we can trust that they will, you know, do the job right and not overcharge and that. And it's the same thing with the legal service with Amazon, is that they have pre-vetted attorneys that know what they're doing with the trademark, so that there's a very much a likelihood of you getting the trademark. Because there's a lot of people, attorneys, but they're not trademark attorneys, and they'll file, but they may have overlooked something. They may not have gone through the database thoroughly, and that to find somebody using the name. And then they find out this person, you know, is in the brand registry, and they don't have the trademark. So they use that as they use pre-vetted people so that you're likely to have it. But if you end up, it's still the same process. It's still the same,
right?
That, you know, you still have to get everything together. It's just that you've got more likelihood of getting it. But just what I've told you now is to having the things ready ahead of time and paying attention to what name you want, and that it does not mean that you're guaranteed. I know people who've had lawyers and they've not got through because the name, they found somebody else's, you know.
Right. So your due diligence, like anything else, you got to start with yourself and then, you know, and ask. Just because they're a quote unquote professional doesn't mean that they're always good at their job. So you have to ask a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Like, have you looked as, you know, I saw a name that was similar. What do you think about this? Or, you know, whatever, but you have to
I mean, I've had a lot of people like they think just changing a spelling is enough, but that's not. That still can cause confusion. Somebody'd once say the word Monique, and there may be one with the QUE at the end, and then they want C at the end. You know, they're like, well, it's not spelt the same, but it still can cause confusion, even if it's a verbal thing. So
and that's the whole purpose of, I mean, we talked about that, but that's the whole purpose of a trademark, is to assign an identifier, a word or a name or whatever, to a group of products that differentiates it from another group of products. So if it's John's toys and Jane's toys, it might be too close. Maybe not the best example, but I like
we say type B babies, you know, it's known for the quality and that. And he actively protected his brand, you know, through the years.
Very aggressively.
So that people couldn't, you know, use his brand and make inferior products. Although there are counterfeits out there, as we know, but you do have to watch out for it. One of the best ways, I should have said, is that once you're assigned a number, an application number, there is an address on a URL to go to keep monitoring as to how far along it is. You also, that's where you can go and you can check out other people's, you can see what their images are, what documents they've submitted, and all the details that they've given, you know. And you get ideas too as to what you want to include on your trademark in case it's something you haven't thought about. So it's good to have a look around. But I would say, with anything before you answer, go to your trademark application, see which attorney was assigned to you, and make sure that that's the attorney you're going to be talking to, that it's not somebody else. And look and see what it is that they're looking for. It could just be something very simple. And so you can't change it once it's gone in. You can't say, okay, well, I'll change my name to this. Once you've got the application, you cannot change the name, you know.
I did hear that if you got that, you mentioned the number, that if you got that number, you could get brand registry for one SKU. I don't know if you heard. I haven't tested it out.
Oh, yeah, you mean the application number? You used to be able to get to actually register, you know, like it was in well, the first brand registry that they did, you could do just with the application number. You could also, you know, get the protection from the copyright department with the application number. But then so many people were filing just applications and just, you know,
just getting that.
And then some of them weren't going through, so it was a nightmare. So then it had to be registered and that. But yeah, I've heard sometimes they let up and you can try it. You can try and see if you can get in and do it. But sometimes with Amazon for the brand registry, when you actually come time to filing for the brand registry, they want a code so that they know you're the one who's got the trademark and it's not a competitor. And so they will actually send like that verification code. You get the 2-step verification code. They will actually send that to the email on file with the government office. And then that email is the one who gets the code, and you have to be able to give Amazon that code. So I've done that with like Trademark Form 1. They got the code and said, oh, here you are. Amazon just sent this to us. In England, when I got that, they wanted to charge me another £250 just to give me the flipping code. You know, I'm like, no, don't think so. Remember here where I asked you, are there any other fees? You have to tell me ahead of time.
Yeah.
And they said, okay, we'll let you have it. You know, I'm like, flipping heck, you know. So you do have to be careful because they do love to, you know, keep ringing up the pounds and that.
Well, I think we have, let me see if there's any more questions. No, I don't think. Do you guys want me to ask? I don't think you want me to ask.
What's about classification issues? Is that
the way? Well, I'm sorry.
I'm seeing something in chat now.
Oh, it's about LG and like, so if you have small, medium, large clothes and you have large as LG right now, Amazon is giving you a hard time because you're infringing on the electronics company.
Oh my goodness.
So you got to go in and change. I don't know what's happening with that. Casey, what's your process been? Have you had any luck? Oh, we have to turn Chakra. Well, put it in text.
Hey, there
Have
you
you
go.
had any luck?
Can you hear me?
Oh, there you go. Thank you. Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah.
Sorry. So far, I've only had on one of my clothing items, and I went to edit and I changed the title and just blew it up to LARGE. I've heard of some other people.
Or was it an actual, suspected or actual?
It's a suspected.
Okay, those are
But
low.
at this point, they're treating suspected as actual. They are dinging people for it. It is impacting your health, your account health rating. If you do get a suspected, first thing you should do is check to see if you have any in stock. If you don't and you don't intend on restocking it, just delete it. And I'd say 60 to 70% of the time that gets rid of the suspected and also any issues.
And fixes your health. Yeah,
without you having to try to edit the listing, because listings now are brand registered and they've become such a disaster. But yeah, the only one I personally have dealt with, I did manage to get changed. I know some other people who got 50 to 60 of them, and they said they've had about a 50% success rate so far getting the title changed in order to remove it. And I think that's like the easiest step before trying to contact seller support and get them to understand that they're idiots.
Yeah, I like what Mike was saying too, that people are registering trademarks any way they can, and then using it and having Amazon enforce it for them, even though it doesn't make any sense. Yeah, there's what is it like? Every rule has someone to break it. Like, you know, we used to do sales.
Well, you will also find
just have to figure out how to get around them.
Yeah, there are also lawyers who will file trademark infringement on behalf of other people without the person asking them to do it.
Oh,
you know? Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So they'll actively look around and think, hey, you know, this person is very close to what you've got. We've got, you know, but they don't even contact you. So that, you know, you get an infringement letter and it's like, well, the company doesn't even know that it's been filed, but the lawyers just try and see what sticks and where they can get, you know, present.
I've had a couple from that we were IP infringing. I'm like, but we bought the product directly from you. And they're like, oh, we don't want you to sell it anymore. I'm like, just tell me that.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
And they fixed it, but like the lawyer told them this is the appropriate way to do it, is just get everybody, tell them you're infringing. I'm like, no, it's not the right way.
And yeah, people sometimes are confused with
absolutely.
When you have a trademark, it does not mean that somebody cannot sell your products as such, you know. I mean, they could, if like when you're a reseller, you know, I could have bought products from you, Barbara, and I'm going to resell them now because I don't want them. The used products, I'm going to resell them, you know, used. And that people sometimes say, this person's infringing on my trademark or they're copying my trademark when they're using it the wrong way. The person is actually using the products they haven't copied. They're just reselling products that they that are yours. An infringement is I'm using your name and that I'm putting it on my product, you know. Not I'm making a copy of your product. I'm not that I'm selling your product, you know. Some people say try and go after eBay sellers for selling the copyright infringement, but it's not as such because it is actually your product. They're not putting your name on their product.
Right.
Yeah. So
Mike, do you want to tell? Mike made a mention of a little info on what happens if you don't fix your suspected IPs. Want to elaborate?
Yeah. Am I muted or no?
No, you're good.
Okay. Yeah, if you don't actually address those, you can get suspended for them, and it has happened to me. So definitely address them, change them, open cases if you have to. We've had some pretty ridiculous ones that we ignored, or they fell between the cracks, and then I had to fight through seller performance, and because at that point you basically have to say, even if you feel like you didn't do anything wrong, you have to admit guilt. So definitely don't let those roll. What I've seen is if you let them go more than 2 months and it's something major, like we had one, it was like we were fighting one for Dionysus, which is like a Greek god, but apparently it's also a Gucci product line, I think. So when they're serious like that, they will come after you. So, or Amazon will come after you, I should say, for it. So yeah, it's pretty ridiculous.
Casey's mentioning that for a long time it didn't matter that you had suspected versus actual IPs, but he seems to think it is now. So
yeah, I mean it's suspected. I mean, even the word itself says, "Hey, we think you're kind of doing something wrong," but like, how are you going to suspend somebody for like something under suspected? It's like, okay, well, am I or am I not doing something wrong? Like, don't call it suspected. That just says I'm technically innocent until proven guilty, but they don't care. And they're blowing through classifications too. I mean, if somebody registers, I'm fighting one suspected, or actually I'm fighting one real IP notice right now, where like the trademark's registered in online services. Like, how are you enforcing a physical product trademark when you have a classification in online service? Online service is like PayPal, right?
Right.
No, I mean, like PayPal is pretty well known, but this is like a small company. Like nobody knows who they are, and it's probably some troll. So it's stupid.
Well, what I think they did, just from my background in software development, is the suspected are all bot based. They're entirely an AI system, and Amazon's AI is garbage. At least their seller side AI. And what they did was they ran it to where it didn't impact you for a long time with the suspected system. And what they were basically doing is waiting for sellers to tell them that the bot was breaking, that this was, nonsense, or this one was accurate. And they tried to use us to test it. Yeah, exactly. They tried to use us to test their system out. And I don't think a lot of us realized that was what was happening. And so now the system has gone live. It's active. They haven't updated the wording because the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing. And we've got the bot that they think is good because we didn't all complain, because we all knew they weren't actually impacting our account health, except we had no incentive to actually tell them these things because it wasn't supposed to matter. And now a bunch of people like Mike, and frankly, a bunch of people are getting caught flat-foot by it. I don't think it matters nearly as much as a hard IP claim or authentic claim, but it does absolutely matter.
Okay.
Yeah, it only seems to matter if you're infringing like a major brand or their product line. So like Gucci, but I mean, it wasn't the word Gucci, it was Dionysus, which is a Greek god for wine or something like that. So I had that like on a shirt, and we got like a suspect. I mean, I'm still actually fighting it on one from Canada. They came after me in Canada too for it. So, and it's like, guys, this is like a Greek god. How do you even get a trademark? But because it's Gucci, you have like they're taking it seriously. I'm sure LG would.
I mean, it gets expensive. It can get expensive defending, trademarks and things like that. It's that's why you want to have everything on your side, because to defend yourself, it costs money.
I think we've got all the questions. How can people get in touch with you?
They can just PM me. Karen Steinelber Holmes is probably a good way to get hold of me.
I'll put it on the end of the video too. The correct spelling of your full name, all three of them.
They might not need me. They've got all the information.
Oh, believe me, when they see the forms, and they're gonna want some help.